Hi, I'm Maru. This video is going to be an introduction to me, and I'm going to be painting leaf moths too, so welcome. I've been drawing traditionally for like forever, since I was a kid, since I could hold a pencil, and it used to be my strongest medium for art, but I switched over to digital art after I graduated in 2017 from high school and practiced that for about 7 years, and I got really rusty at traditional art. I actually never learned how to paint with a paintbrush until this year. So eventually, when I start adding color to these moths, I'm going to be practicing with watercolor, and I haven't been using watercolor for very long, so it's pretty rough and definitely inexperienced, but I really enjoyed filling this sketch page in my sketchbook, and I hope that you will enjoy watching it. I haven't been using pencils at all for drawing for the past couple years. I've just been using a pen, like a ballpoint pen, to sketch really lightly. I find that it's really easy to slip into perfectionism in sketches, and when I'm sketching with a pen, it's a lot looser because it has to be messy. Like, I'm not gonna be able to be perfect with a little ballpoint pen sketch. I can't erase anything or hit undo, and so I really like sketching with a pen. I feel like my lines become more confident and bolder. And overall, since I really just like the look of messy, loose artwork, I've been trying to incorporate that into my own style by keeping my own work loose and messier than I normally would. I absolutely love drawing critters, animals, fantasy creatures, anything with fur. I love drawing or making up little creatures that don't exist, just like drawing some shapes and turning them into something. I've never really felt connected to or like been able to enjoy drawing humans. I have gotten to a point where I can draw people in general, but they're not great. That's something I definitely want to start practicing on next year in 2024. Just like practicing human anatomy and being able to draw a decent looking person so that I can include them in my illustrative work, because right now I don't feel confident enough in my human drawing skills to actually put them into finished pieces that I'm proud of. Although I really don't feel confident in my human drawing skills, I love watching other people draw them, and so I like watching channels like Sam Does Arts and Drawing with Waffles and watching them draw human characters as I draw my animals. Oddly enough, I also used to feel this way about plants, especially in traditional artwork. I felt like they're way too tedious to draw, and they always just looked super bleh. So a couple years ago, I joined an ARPG, or art roleplay game, where all of the characters had some sort of a plant attached to their body, and they all mostly lived in very natural environments. And that pushed me to start learning how to draw plants more and more, and it was great motivation because I also was getting points for it. It's kind of the nature of an ARPG, is that you earn points by making art. That's the way you progress. So I was drawing plants a lot more, and that forced practice. It actually led me to really enjoy them. I never want to leave plants out of my drawings now. I like to incorporate them somewhere because I love them and I enjoy drawing them now. I think that the little details and the time it takes to draw and paint them is actually one of the most enjoyable parts of an art piece. So growing up, my mom would buy those number 70 spiral school notebooks for my brother and I, and we would fill those up like nobody's business. We would just draw and draw, and I love to fill them with things like sketches of Pokemon or dragons, or I watched the Lilo and Stitch Cousins on Disney Channel, it was this little TV series. I don't think a lot of people watched it, but if you do, let me know, because it was literally the best little little TV series ever, in my opinion, as a kid. But I like to draw Lilo and Stitch characters, and I would sometimes want to do a little short story, and I would like cut a square out of my notebook paper, and I would create an elevator in my sketchbook with a little square of paper that would move up and down on the page behind it with a piece of yarn that was looped around, and the pages would be stapled together, so I would be able to move the elevator up and down with this piece of yarn, and that was really fun. We were also one of those families that would always bring a homemade birthday card, where we would fold a piece of printer paper and just have us kids color all over it to make a homemade card. I didn't really discover digital art until 2011-ish, where my friends and I became head over heels in love with Disney Create. We called it DC for short. If any of you remember Disney Create or also used it to make artwork, let me know again, because that was like the biggest deal ever at that time of my life. That was right around the time where wolf OCs were all the rage. Everybody had to have a wolf OC. I had this really cringy little guy who was bright orange with a neon blue glowing mohawk. And my username was Wolf Agent, and that was just kind of the trend, I guess, for 11-year-olds at the time, and up maybe, I think it was like kids like 10 to 11 to like young teens. The site was totally hand monitored by staff, so like real people would review every piece of artwork that was submitted to the site to make sure that it was appropriate, like PG, and there were no addresses or real names or anything. And I guess it was super labor intensive, and eventually they closed the site down for that reason and in favor of Club Penguin, which was a lot more profitable. But Disney Create, though, that was my very first exposure to seeing art made from a tablet, where I knew that my peers had created this image using an iPad or some sort of a drawing tablet, and I was blown away. I wanted to make artwork like this. I felt like I was being really held back because, see, I felt like I was pretty good at drawing traditionally, but when I was using Disney Create, I had to draw with a mouse, and that was like a huge hindrance. Like, drawing with a mouse is the worst, and anybody who does that and does it well, I applaud you. But I thought that if I could draw on a screen with a stylus, that I would be able to create some really cool stuff. So that was like all I could think about for the next couple of years, the next several years really, because then I got to go through all of high school, and at 17, and I graduated, I got an iPad and an Apple Pencil as a gift for my graduation celebration, and I just totally focused on that for the longest time. I will find myself going through like phases of digital art though. I tend to get burnt out on it. I'll go through sprees where I need to make so much art. I can do so many illustrations, and then I'll fizzle out and I won't do anything for a couple of months. I don't feel that same burnout with traditional art. I feel like I can make art all the time with physical mediums, just my hands and paper. But that's one reason why I am focusing on traditional mediums right now instead of digital art. Earlier this year, I decided I wanted to make art my future career, my full-time job. So right now I'm taking steps to help out future me and kind of get the ball rolling. That's where this YouTube channel comes in. I'm trying to get started building an audience and just getting practice making art videos, so that hopefully in the future, when I can get better gear and a better setup, I'll be able to make some nice ones and hopefully be helpful and entertaining for all of you. This is the first time I have recorded one of my physical art processes all the way through, and voiced over, and filmed myself, and filmed my face talking for one video, and shared it publicly. This is a huge beginning step for me that I've been scared to take for a long time. Even just getting this started, I've been so nervous and feeling so awkward about it. I've been sitting on my bed looking at my phone in the phone holder, procrastinating actually sitting down at my desk and taking the first shot. That being said, thank you for being here. By watching this video, you are helping a baby artist take flight. One of my goals for 2024 is to open a shop, perhaps an Etsy shop, and to try to sell more of my stickers, because I realized people actually like stickers and have wanted to buy them from me since people have actually seen that I have them, and so I want to make them more accessible so that people can purchase them if they want them. I also want to achieve my childhood dream of writing and illustrating and publishing a book next year. So I've actually written a short story, and right now I'm working on the illustrations for it. So in future videos, I will sneak peek some of those illustrations and processes. I'll record the process, and I'll do a voiceover where I'll talk a little bit about what that page is for, what's going on in the story at that time. But basically, this story is based on some concept art that I made a couple years back. It is about a fox who lives in the autumn forest, and he discovers some magical hidden doors to the other seasons, and he gets to explore the other seasons and kind of see what they're all about. And I've written it in a poem format, in a very unique writing style of what I imagine a fox would think or talk in words, like what kind of words they would use. People have a little language that they've got for cats. It's kind of simple and cute, and I've come up with my own little language format for foxes as well. I actually started the illustrations for this story in watercolor in my sketchbook, watercolor and ink, which I never imagined I would do. I always figured I would use digital art because it's a lot easier to fix mistakes. It's a lot more forgiving, and it's my strong point since I've had more practice with digital art than traditional. But what I'm planning on doing is doing all of the original illustrations in my sketchbook in watercolor, and then transferring them over to my iPad and touching them up and probably expanding around the edges for bleed lines, so they'll be a mixture of traditional and digital. Another reason why I'm practicing watercolor and ink right now is because my boyfriend is taking me to Taiwan in 2 weeks to meet his family for Christmas and see where he grew up. And I'm really excited. And something I've always wanted to do is have a visual journal where I document in art the places that I visit and the things that I eat, and have little notes beside them to say what we were up to. So I got a sketchbook specifically for this trip, and I'm planning on keeping a visual journal for this trip, and I wanted to use watercolor. A couple weeks ago, I was in Tacoma and I visited Proctor Art Gallery, and there was a man there showing his work, and he's a professional full-time artist now. He's made it his full-time work in retirement, and I was asking him how he got started and what his process looked like when he was kicking off, because I kind of want to learn from older professional artists and follow in their footsteps to see what worked for them and what I can implement into my journey. And he said he would travel abroad and he would use watercolor to sketch the places that he visited, and he recommended watercolor for me as a first medium to try on my own trip. That artist also has a YouTube channel where he paints plein air paintings, and his name is John Bradham, and I will link him in the description below if you'd like to go and check out his work. And if you happen to be near Seattle or the Tacoma area, you can also see his work in person in the Proctor Art Gallery. As for the watercolor kit I'm using the Koi traveling watercolor kit, or it's the smallest version available. It came with this water brush, which is going to be great for when I'm out and about and I don't have time to set up. So I can just pull this little kit out of my bag and start painting. And I've been trying it out at classes and just in different rooms, and it's really nifty. It really doesn't take up much space at all. I can paint it at any place that I want to, and I really enjoy it. So I'll link that in the description below too. As for the sketchbook itself is like 10 years old. I've had it for forever. I think it was a gift for a birthday at some point when I was like 13. I had some really cringy diary entries in there from forever ago, like one of my very first crushes, and I tore them all out, so the beginning of this book is all ripped up. I actually need to get some bookbinding glue so that I can put it back together because it's wanting to fall apart right now. But I thought, no way, this book is way too cool to not put some forest illustrations in it. So what I wish I would have done, which I didn't realize I could do this at the time, but I wish I would have just painted over all of those pages and then drawn over the paint, which is something I've done on a few pages after I've experimented a little bit more, but I tore them all out, so that's regretful, because it's such a nice quality book. I didn't realize the paper I can paint front and back and there's no bleed through. It's super heavy duty and really cool, really well made. I've tried to find the company so that I could order another one, but I think that they are closed down because I can't find them anywhere. And the only words that I can find in this book at any place, I looked them up and it seems to be just some stylish furniture store. There's no sketchbooks available. There's no drawing supplies listed. So I think that perhaps another store popped up with the same name in the time that it's taken me to actually seek them out. But I got really excited when I realized I could paint on both sides of these pages, because that means the sketchbook has doubled in size and I can have twice as much paper as I originally thought. Plus, the sketchbook spreads, I think, look a lot nicer with both pages filled instead of just one. So I'm really happy about that. The moths I'm working on are concept art for my logo. When I was researching opening up a shop the other day, I noticed they're asking me for a logo, and oh boy, I haven't made one. So I was trying to think of what would be the most representative of my username and my art style, because I'm really attached to the username Mothmaru, and my art style is very naturey, and I draw a lot of critters, so I decided to do some moths with leaf wings, and I probably will pick one or two of these designs that I'm doing today to finalize, and the moth that is my current logo right now is probably going to get updated with one of these guys. So after a bit, I will get that done, and that'll be a fun day. Maybe I'll make some stickers out of them too. The name Mothmaru is a nickname referencing the game Sky Children of the Light. It's a game you can play on like your phone, your iPad, or the Nintendo Switch, and it's very sweet. My boyfriend introduced it to me a couple years ago, and new players are generally referred to there as moths, and his nickname for me was Maru, so Mothmaru became a thing, and it stuck, and I loved it, and I started using it for my Discord username and then for my DeviantArt username, and eventually it just became all of the platforms, and I'm really attached to it. This was a bit before moths were trending. I feel like everybody wants to be moth now, and they're super popular, and I don't really like having a name that's a trendy animal, but I'm too attached to change it now, so hopefully sometime in the future the trend will die down. It'll be a little more unique. It kind of reminds me of when you're designing a character and you give that character a placeholder name, and then later you consider changing the name, but the placeholder is already super attached and you can't think of any other name for that character, so you're just kind of stuck with it. I see Instagram artists painting with watercolor, and the strokes are always so flowy and so smooth, and I love seeing the color bleed, and I don't really know how to do those techniques yet, but I want to practice more, a whole lot more in the end of this year and the coming year, and I want to improve, and I'm excited someday, maybe next winter, to look back on this art and some of my other art from this year and hopefully see improvement and hopefully see growth. And digital art and watercolor are not the only mediums that I'm practicing right now. I've also been doing sculpture, so I've got to work with clay and plaster, and experimented with cardboard and paper, and I have a mentor who's separate from my college who I know, and he's training me to do wood carvings. So when the weather gets a little bit warmer, I'm going to be doing some more wood carving, where I cut some chunks off of a block of wood with a chainsaw, and then I use a Dremel and sanders to smooth out some fine details. I've made a bear, a whale, 2 fish, and I was in the process of a couple other projects before I got back to class, but I really like wood carving, so I'm hoping to get some more experience with that. Next term, I'm taking my second ever ceramics class, and I'm hoping to get some more experience throwing on the wheel, making some more cups and bowls and plates and stuff. I think I'm also gonna be able to make a teapot, so that's exciting because I love tea, and what better teapot than a handmade teapot? Hopefully that'll look nice. I've made a couple mugs already, and I really like carving plants into them. Maybe I'll share them in a later video. Earlier this summer, I had my first real dabble in acrylic painting, and it turned out to be a lot less scary than I was expecting it to be. I did a couple paintings of Mount Hood. That was really fun. I actually found that I enjoy it, and I have ideas for the canvases that I've had tucked away for years and years now. So I'm hoping to tackle those next year also. I have a lot of art plans for next year. I kind of feel like I've got a little bit of an artist rebirth going on. Like, I'm gonna bloom, I'm going to take flight and fly away, and I hope that it will all go smoothly. I'm really hoping to find an audience here on YouTube that loves art as much as I do, who will enjoy following this journey, because I'm learning, and I want to learn, and I want to grow, and I want to improve, and although I feel like I'm in a good place right now, I don't want to stop here. I want to continue learning how to make art, and I want to love it more and more, and I want to share it with everybody, and I want to get better at making videos and better at recording and filming and face my fears, and I want to achieve my dreams next year. So I'm feeling really fired up and motivated right now, and I think that's a great start for January. As we're almost to January, this month is going by so fast. It's absolutely flying by. So anyways, thank you for watching and for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye! My alligator, teach him some manners. Can you teach my alligator manners?